Welcome everyone that's just joined. We will wait a couple of minutes for you all to arrive. There is a poll on your screen now. If you could answer that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Would love to know your thoughts. So the question that we would love you to answer is, before this webinar, how much do you know about data ops, or does your data team follow DevOps methodology? You might be doing this every day and feel like you're an expert. You might have a little bit of knowledge of this already, or like me, you have little knowledge and are here to learn. Looking forward to seeing your thoughts here. We'll give it one more minute and then we will begin. So 39% of our audience are similar to me, here to learn. 58% of our audience have some knowledge of how data teams may use DevOps methodology, and one of you feels like they are an expert. So hopefully we're all going to learn something tonight. I am very excited. Thank you all for joining us. So good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the 10th edition of our live Women in DevOps webinar series and the first of 2021. We're having a little bit of a new take here. We're partnering with our other networking initiative called SODA Social, where we look at all things data within DevOps, as you can probably already know from the name of this event. Today, I am joined by three incredible and influential women in data who are using DevOps best practices in their day-to-day work. My name is Antonia Otter, and I'm our DAC lead here at Women in DevOps, scaling out our European community. And I am joined by my colleague, Anthony. Anthony, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Tony. So my name is Anthony Kelly. I am the host and founder at SODA Social of the series SOD.AI. So SODA, still SODA Social with wordplay on .ai. We plan on covering all aspects of data and AI in a range of meetup topics. If some of you have been following me on LinkedIn in the past, for the last 2 years, I've ran AI and data science and machine learning events across Berlin and Germany. I've also had a successful podcast series. So I'm now hoping to bring all of that together here in this event, and we can integrate a bit of AI, data, and DevOps into our event, but without going too much into myself or talking too much about tonight's event. I'm going to allow Tony to sort of give us a little bit of an idea of what we're hoping to achieve from tonight's event. Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone, or morning.
Thanks so much, Anto. I have the pleasure of working with Anto as well, and I'm super excited that he can join us. So as I said, tonight's webinar is called Women in DevOps Meets SOD.AI, exploring the world of data ops. Our panelists will each be presenting how they use DevOps best practices within their businesses or day-to-day as well. The presentation times will total around 50 minutes. We welcome as many questions as possible. Pop them in the Q&A box or the comments as we go. And then at the end, we will have dedicated time for a Q&A session as well. And then after that, for those who wish to continue the conversation further, we will have half an hour for networking at the end, which will be put in the comment box by the team. So sit back, any questions you have, please pop them in the comment box as we go along. That's enough from me. I'd now like to welcome Ari Weller from our platinum sponsors, JFrog. Over to you, Ari.
Thank you so much, Antonia. Well, happy 2021, everybody. Did you ever think it would finally get here? Well, we're here. This is awesome. I'm Ari Weller, and I am the event manager for JFrog, and we are really excited about our continued partnership with Women in DevOps throughout this year. Rather than assume you've heard of us, I'll share just a little bit. JFrog is a DevOps software company founded in 2008, and our mission is to ensure that continuous software updates flow to our end users with zero downtime. Kind of like water through pipes, and we call this liquid software. Many of you know us by our flagship product, Artifactory, which is the world's leading binary repository. Now today, we have nearly 700 employees, 10 offices globally, and more than 3 million developers use our software daily. Now, recently, in our desire to make DevOps education as accessible as possible to the community, we started hosting some DevOps 101 workshops and providing a free cloud version of our world-class software for use for the community during our workshop and for you to keep afterwards as well. I have a date coming up, which is going to be on January 27th, and I'm going to put that workshop link in the chat shortly, so you could see it in case it's something you'd like to attend and enjoy. I know some of you may have already been to one of our one-on-one workshops before, and they've been a huge success, so we hope you can join us. But more or just as exciting, I should probably say, as that, I'm going to share my screen and tell you what our monthly sweepstakes is for the month of January 2021. Now, we are going to be giving away a chance for you to enter and win a Amazon Echo Show 5. So if you want to click on or rather shoot or scan the QR code or use the bit.ly link that'll also drop in the chat shortly, feel free to do that. And we will select the winner within 2 business days and announce and share the winner with the Women in DevOps community, as well as congratulate you on social as well. But just when you thought that was all the excitement was that, we are also going to select 5 winners of JFrog t-shirts. Now, I'm not sure if you can see my t-shirt here. This is what you call an out-of-print JFrog t-shirt. We're very well known for our t-shirts. In fact, I actually bought this one on eBay, and I work for JFrog. It's gone. And the 5 t-shirts that I am going to be giving out this time are out-of-print JFrog t-shirts, something we've never given away at a meetup before. And they're limited edition, and we're going to choose 5 people to give that to. If you look at the graphic behind me, you'll see Aquafrog. That is who will be on your shirt for these 5 winners. So again, we hope you join. And again, such a pleasure to be part of the Women in DevOps community for JFrog, and really looking forward to the panel discussion today. So without any further ado, back to you, Antonia.
Ari, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much, folks. They are some amazing prizes, so please scan that barcode right now to get your hands on those limited edition t-shirts. Thank you so much. But everyone, I'm very happy that you can be here, give you a little bit of background to Women in DevOps if this is your first time. We are an empowerment platform and networking initiative devoted to empowering underrepresented groups, not only within the DevOps industry, but throughout the whole tech space. For our work as recruiters, we're on a mission to build diversity, create inclusion, and encourage workplace innovation whilst promoting equality throughout the whole area of technology. So how this looks is we'll host meaningful and empowering webinars, events, and workshops, acknowledging that although the tech industry is progressive, there is still work to be done to achieve a truly inclusive workforce. Our platform has become a global movement and is not only used to amplify the voices of women, but the whole DevOps and tech community to break down barriers and drive positive change throughout the tech world. So you've heard way too much from me. It's now over to our amazing panel. I'm gonna leave it over to our ladies. So please introduce yourselves now.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Elena. I'm from Italy originally, and but I'm currently in Berlin, and I'm a data engineer for HelloFresh, and I have been within HelloFresh for the last 3 years. So it's actually it feels like a long time, and I learned a lot during this time. And yeah, so I'm very excited to be here today. This is the first meetup that I do. So yeah, I'm happy to be here with you, and I'll leave the word to my colleagues.
Thanks, Elena. We're super happy to have you here as well. Mahshad?
Hello everybody, and thanks for joining. My name is Mahshad. I'm Iranian and currently I'm living in Berlin. I'm working as a data engineer at OneFootball, which I'm very happy to work there. It's a very wonderful opportunity for me. And I joined OneFootball at the beginning of 2020. And I want to thank everyone who's been involved in organizing this meetup, and especially Anthony and Lucy. I hope we can have a great time here.
Thank you, Mahshad. I have no doubt we're going to have a good time. Very excited to hear about your experiences as well. And then finally, Steffi.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Steffi. I'm the team lead of product intelligence team in Bonia. So product intelligence is basically a team of data analysts and data scientists that are working together with product management to craft our product. So we do a lot of testings, we do a lot of ad hoc analysis. The data scientist itself, we have 2 data scientists in the team, and the work that I'm presenting today will be from actually the data scientists. I'm originally from Indonesia, so welcome everyone. And if you would like to speak with me afterwards, I'll be there as well in the networking event. Hope I can learn something from all of you as well.
Thank you so much, Steffi, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from you as well. So let's go to the presentations. Mahshad, are you ready?
Yeah.
Excellent. And you can share yours.
Sure.
Please ask questions throughout in the Q&A box. We'll have time, or the comment box, we're going to have time at the end to go through them.
Cool. Is it okay?
Yep.
Well, hello again. Yes, my name is Mahshad, and what I'm going to talk today is I'm going to talk about the Snowplow stack at OneFootball, which we use for tracking events, and how we manage the infrastructure of our stack. Well, for those of you who are not familiar with OneFootball, OneFootball is an ultimate football platform. What we do is to bring all the football news for the football lovers all over the world. And we have reached 85 million fans monthly, and the platform can support different languages. We are around 290 people here with different nations, and of course we are hiring. What I'm going to talk about today is a brief introduction to Snowplow for those of you who are not familiar with that, and then I will talk about our Snowplow architecture at OneFootball and how we manage the infrastructure of our event tracking stack. So first of all, let's talk about Snowplow. Snowplow is actually enables you to track a wide range of analytics events that occur when users interact with the OneFootball platform. And how the way that they engage with all platform. So what it is, it actually has three phases. First, as you can see at the left side, there are too many trackers and which send these events to the stack, and then on the Snowplow pipeline in the closed account, you can collect, enrich, and store them on your data warehouse like Elasticsearch and Redshift, and etc. And then it enables you to leverage a wide range of tools to analyze the data. So this is the big picture and how we are using the Snowplow at OneFootball. This is our architecture of Snowplow. And as you can see, the whole stack runs on AWS. We have different trackers, like we track events from web or application and third-party vendors. These events come to the collector, and after that, some of them can be known as collector bad, and this data stream goes to monitoring, and you can see the logs, and then the collector good events go to ENRICH part. There we use a schema register called Igloo, which is extensively used for Snowplow to check if this event is compatible in schema with the schema that we expect it to be. And if it is, it leads to enrich good and goes to storage. And if not, it will be sent to enrich bad, and then we can monitor the logs to see what was that even. So an enrich good and the storage, when it goes to storage, we store it, we have hot and cold storage, Elasticsearch and S3, and we also have a couple of Glue scripts to transform this data and then create our analytics model on top of this data. So here, as you can see, we are also monitoring the events with AWS CloudWatch dashboard. We define some metrics using AWS CloudWatch alarms to notify us using Slack when there is an error. So data insight team at OneFootball, we have no direct access to the DevOps resources. So what we need to do is to incorporate DevOps best practices to operate the infrastructure efficiently. Actually, we need to learn by ourselves how to use these DevOps best practices, data and insights team. But as you can see, there are a couple of resources here that we need to have them on AWS. So to manage this infrastructure, we are using Terraform, which is an infrastructure as code. So what we do is to define all that resources using Terraform. And there are three primarily phases for that. Like first, you need to write that codes, that infrastructures as a code, which you can use Terraform language, and it's called HCL, and it has its own syntax, and you can describe your resources by this. I can show you an example in the next slide. And then you can simply run Terraform plan to check whether this execution plan is what you expect to have before provisioning or changing your infrastructure on the cloud provider. After that, if it meets your requirements, then we can just use Terraform apply to apply all these changes to the cloud provider, which in our case, use AWS for that. And we also use Terraform Cloud, which is a platform that performs Terraform runs to provision infrastructure. Well, as a team, we need to have our individual workspaces. So what we have is different workspaces on Terraform Cloud. We have a production workspace, a staging workspace, and a couple of development workspace for everyone in every data engineer in the team. So we can develop or pipelines there. Then, and the good thing about this Terraform Cloud is it's integrated with Terraform workflows as well. Here is an example of one of the modules that we define in HCL language using Terraform. It's KINESIS stream ENRICH good, which is using the module of KINESIS stream, and it creates, this module actually creates all the resources you need to have a KINESIS on AWS. And as you can see, you can define all these configurations by yourself and then just apply them. And on AWS, you have all these resources, as many as you want. Other things that we are using is GitHub Actions. Well, we use GitHub Actions, and it's good because it enables the GitHub integration with cloud, with the Terraform Cloud, and also we maintain a Jenkins instance for other projects like Airflow. But in this project, we decided to go with GitHub Actions, and it's good because it also supports self-hosted runners, which is not such an option in Jenkins. So as you can see in the left side, the staging to production workflow, an engineer writes a code, opens a GitHub PR, and then another engineer reviews and hopefully approves it. Then we merge it with master, and a sequence of GitHub actions run. And on staging workspace using Terraform Cloud, all these resources are created on our AWS Data Staging account. And if we want to release that to production, we use another sequence of GitHub actions to create all that resources on a production workspace of Terraform Cloud. And then we're going to have that all that resources on AWS data production account. So if I want to tell you a list of these GitHub actions that we are using for releasing to production, there are a couple of things like a couple of actions for Terraform validation, like an static test for security check on Terraform format and applies. We also deploy the Glue scripts that we need to transform data using GitHub Actions. We use GitHub Actions to push Docker images that are used by our ECS tasks to launch the containers. And also we use that for copying Lambda functions that we are using. But as you can see, you can use these GitHub Actions to define and custom deployment for your development. So it's really great, and it's integrated actually with GitHub, which makes it so cool. So yeah, that is it. And I hope that was interesting for you. And thank you for listening. And yeah, if you have any questions, just leave your question in Q&A. Hopefully we can answer all of them.
Mahshad.
And now, I hand it over to Antonio.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. That was incredible. So good. Like she said, please, if you have any questions, we will get to them at the end. That was awesome. Thank you so much. So next, I think we have Steffi.
Yes. I'm just gonna... Hi, everyone. Yeah, as I have introduced myself, so I'm not going to repeat that, but I'm going to introduce a little bit about Bonial itself to explain what I want to, I want to share today. So basically, I'm going to share automatic content. I'm going to share about automatic content categorization. What does it mean? Basically, the way we do we categorize our contents in Bonial are not automated. Right now, we count on a lot of manual effort, and using data science models, we actually try to automate them. So to be able to explain the problem there, I need to also explain a little bit about Bonial itself. So what is Bonial? Maybe you've heard about it, maybe not. So I'm just gonna go ahead here and explain. Basically, if you've been to Germany, you might have seen an app called Kaufda, which means buy there. It's basically a digital version of brochures that you might have received in your mailbox. So basically retailers like Kaufland, Lidl, and so on, they usually send out brochures to your mailbox. And these brochures have a lot of deals inside, and we try to digitalize them so that it's, of course, more environmental friendly and also easier for everyone to collect the items and try to see, okay, which deals do I want to purchase for your weekly grocery shopping, or whatever needs you need to buy. And then basically you can imagine that we are an ad tech company, and we are working with offline stores to advertise deals to consumers using our mobile and web platforms. So we have both mobile apps, which called Kaufda. You can also see on the right side, there's Mein Prospect. And then in France, we also have an app called Bonial, and we also have the web version of it. So the way we get the contents is basically we receive the contents from our partners or our clients, and try to transform them into a format that is easy to read, easy to explore, and of course searchable. So you can imagine if it's a sheet of paper and there are a couple of items in it, basically we need to be able to find, okay, I would like to find an apple in this brochure, right? So that's basically what we need to do. That's called content creation. I'm going to go deeper into that in the next slide. And then basically, what can you do with the app? You can also add items from the into a shopping list, and then you can add certain item as a subscription, so you can follow them, or you can follow a certain partner, and then you can receive notifications when there are new deals available. So the content creation process itself, it involves a mixture of manual and semi-automatic process. Basically, we transform the data or the image from papers to PDF. And then afterwards, we also need to deduplicate brochure page, in the sense that basically the nature is the brochure pages on each area might be different, but some of the pages might be the same. So for the ones that are similar, we don't need to do the tagging twice. Therefore, we need to do some deduplication. And then afterwards, here comes the manual part, which is tagging, or we call it adding categories. And this part, so far we are counting on our content taggers to do that. Obviously, it's not an easy job. It requires a lot of details into it, and also very time consuming, right? So obviously, it's going to be nice if we can automate some of the work there. And then after adding the tags, which made it searchable, made it easier for users to use our app or to look for something. And then content creators also need to add price, product description, and so on. I mean, you can imagine all the information there needs to be added. And then afterwards, then they can publish the content. So the idea for us, or the goal for us to do this is basically we would like to optimize the cost of content creation by reducing the time to create the content, but still maintain the good quality. So therefore, because it involves language and obviously there are a lot of edge cases, we still need some human effort to do the quality checks and also to introduce the tags itself as the, like the training data set for us. So the automatic content creation categorization, basically, I already mentioned it multiple times. So we would like to provide categories or tags for offers and brochures. So maybe I need to explain what is brochures and offers. So brochures are, you can imagine this is actually a brochure page. And then there are 3 offers in this brochure page, right? So one offer means you can as a one item or one deal, basically. And it doesn't mean that the tags will be assigned automatically as our goal. Rather, we just give some suggestion to the content taggers. So instead of typing, they can just click on, okay, these are the bubbles, and they just click on those bubbles. And then basically, we are concentrating on finding the categories on offers, because it's this guarantees a more coherent input for the statistical models, because as you can imagine, the brochure pages are more tricky to identify, because there are a lot of items. They can move the placements, they can move the items inside the brochure, and it might be still the same sets of items. So I'm just going to go through quickly on the models that are used for this categorization process. So the first model that we looked into are called reverse image search. This is something that we were trying based on reading a couple of papers as well. It used basically image classification techniques. So when you are given an offer image, the goal is to find most similar image in the database and then compare them. Basically, this is something that we follow the papers and we try it out, but the hard part of it is because we also need to store a lot of information, such as labels, publishers, not publishers, but labels, and then also the brand images, and then sometimes also the image of the offers itself, to be able to find, okay, this is the right, this is the correct image. You can imagine it is dealing with a lot of data, and it's very heavy calculation. So for us to compare their hashes, it requires a lot of trials until we find the right approach. Then the next one, we use oriented fast and rotated brief. So it's called ORB. There's a paper to it as well, so you can look it up yourself if you are interested. So basically it is using the object detection techniques. So basically we find out that after looking into a couple of images as before, turns out, okay, we can actually just, instead of guessing an item based on the shape, we can actually guess an item from the label itself. So these are the cron chips, are called the label. And so first, the algorithm basically extract key points in both images, so the input and the training data set, and try to match the key points from those 2 images. And only filter the good matches. Good matches means like, basically they have the same types of edges and they have the similar colors and locations. And then the labels that was detected should be at least 20 good matches. So therefore it is considered as label. The advantage is compared to the one before, it's not necessary to have historical data, so it can be, but of course, if we have historical data, it can be helpful. Then we also look into YOLO. So YOLO is you only look once. Basically, it's another object detection method. There's also a paper for it, so obviously you can just look into it later on. It's basically a bunch of neural networks. So a single neural network will predict bounding boxes and associated classes probabilities directly from full image in one evaluation. So basically it just looks this once and then try to find, okay, these are the bounding boxes. And then obviously it goes through a couple of neural networks until it finds the right sets of bounding boxes. Then they do some associated class probabilities. So how likely within that bounding box there's an object. So as you can see here, there's like this offer, and basically this bounding box says, okay, this is Dr. Oetker and this is Monkey. So it already helps to find out, okay, what label is this? Then the other two techniques we looked into, or the two models that we looked into, are the text mining models. So basically from the brochure PDFs that we receive, actually we also have what we call the metadata, and inside this metadata we actually have some text, even though they don't make sense. They're just they're just back of text, like they don't even give you enough context, so it's not the full sentence, but rather just a bunch of words. But using this information, we can actually do some text mining. So the first techniques we use name matching. So basically, this is, let's say, the simplest model that we've tested. Basically, it tries to estimate the confidence value for each tag based on the product description text. So the confidence value is, how likely is it to find the tag category on the offer if the name was found in the product description. So basically, the product description itself, it might not be clear that it is this is a potato, but basically from calculating the confidence value, it can tell us, okay, this is a potato, and so on. Because there's a bunch of text here, so we don't know if it's a potato or if it's referring to the bag or if it's referring to the quality, and so on. Then there's another technique called association rules. So instead of looking for words that are contained in the tag, we look for all words that appear frequently together. The limitation is we can only predict tags that have been used in the past. So you might have wondered, like, how is it related to DataOps actually? So this is also still new for us in the sense that we don't have much application of DataOps yet, but I think that in the future it could be a good one. So the result of our analysis or our research is basically accuracy of the models are highly dependent on the data quality. So if the quality of the input from content tagger and the completeness of label and also the product databases. So there's a bunch of words here. Basically, the input is right now it's not so good, so obviously we need to improve that. And also the labels itself still needs to be introduced by human, and they are not complete sometimes. They also are quite ambiguous sometimes, so we need to clean them up as well. And also we need to have a more complete product database. And obviously if we are dealing with a new retailer or new partner with new sets of items, we don't have that. Therefore, we also need to always keep them up to date. And it's important to have high accuracy level, of course, to be able to allow them to be implemented in the production. But at the same time, the model cannot achieve higher accuracy if the model is not used or not adopted by the user, because the model will learn from the input from the user. So the user, when they click on this suggestion, then the model learns, okay, this is the right one or this is the wrong one, and so on. Currently, there's only a single model setup that is live on our production, which is the association rule. But to be able to achieve a certain accuracy level, actually we need to have multiple models running at the same time, so that there is different phases. So first finding the brand itself, and then finds the bounding boxes to find the item, and then finds the text that describe what item this is. So basically we have to use a combination of models. And this is where the DataOps comes into the picture, I guess. So basically we are currently looking into ways to implement different workflows or different let's say process of calling which models needs to be called first and so on. And therefore we are still looking for tools like step function or Kubernetes and so on. We're still exploring them, obviously. And I am looking forward to also hear your input or your questions or your feedback. Maybe you have some ideas as well. That's all. Obviously, the last remarks from me. If you have any question, feel free to type in the chat, or you can also reach me out afterwards. Or also if you're just interested about Bonial itself, feel free.
Thank you so much, Steffi. I'm very excited to see where your journey goes and if you end up implementing Kubernetes. Again, please pop some questions in the Q&A. I know there have been a few questions that have come up in the comments box. If you don't mind popping them into the Q&A, just so we've got them all in one place, that would be fantastic. And then last but not least, Elena, take it away.
Hi, everyone, again. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is actually a very exciting project that I've been working on in last year, at the end of last year, and it's called Fab4 Plus, and it's how to use data to improve the everyday DevOps workflow for the rest of the company. So for those who might not know, HelloFresh is a meal kit company, and it operates in various international markets, and it's one of the biggest meal kit delivery companies in US. So, oops. So what I'll be talking today, so there is an introduction on what it is Fab4 Plus, and then I'll be talking about how it was implemented, and also expose a case study, which is LTTC. You'll know what the acronym means in short minutes, and then some conclusions. So what is Fab4 Plus? Fab4 Plus, it's an ongoing project that will help our teams to be more informed about the effectiveness of their DevOps in a way that we can benchmark ourselves against the industry standards and ultimately improving our software delivery performance. So Fab4 Plus is not about how I'm better than you, but it's rather like, okay, I did this within my team, how can I improve? And that's the purpose of it. The Fab4 project starts actually at the end of 2019, and unfortunately it was not being adopted as hoped. And the reason for this, it's because a different approach had to be used, and because the data that we were using to populate the Dataflow dashboards were not as effective as they should be. And we were able to identify this issue because of the feedback given to us by the various engineers in the company. So what we do instead right now, it's that we not only using data to improve the development processes, but we also use this project as a chance for us in the data team, which I am part of, to create a new set of self-service data tools so that we can provide a more stable and a more self-service data platform to all the engineers in the company, not only data engineers. The reason for doing this is that because we want to make sure that if, for example, you are the producer of an event and you know that this data will have some big impact on the overall business of HelloFresh, we want to make sure that you are able to do that without having to have the knowledges of a data engineer. So what does the 4 stands for? So it represents 4 key metrics which are defined in a book called Accelerate. So we have LTTC, which stands for lead time to change, which answered the question that it's basically how long does it take to get a change in production. Then we have the mean time to restore. This is important in the moments that you might have a critical and you want to make sure to understand how long it took to recover from the incident. Then we have the change failure rate, which is actually a metric that it's obtained by the first two. So it's MTTR divided by LTTC. And the last metric is called deployment frequency, and it's how often we deploy software to production. So how was it implemented actually? So it was a joint effort between the platform team and the foundation, the data foundation team. First of all, we had a new ingestion architecture, because before it was pulling data directly from an external source, which was Jira in this case. And this was not entirely reliable because being an API, we didn't have any way to actually store the historical data. So in the moment that we also had to reprocess them, it was not actually possible. But now instead the data is being collected as events via webhooks from multiple sources. So we not only we are still using Jira, but we also connect to GitHub and to Ops.Genie. And these events are stored in an S3 bucket. Then we also started designing new ETLs for the data processing. And what we did was, first of all, redesign the structure so that it is easily maintainable by non-data engineers. As I said, this project is a joint operation between the platform team, where there are DevOps engineers and software engineers, but there are not non-data engineers. And we want to make sure that they can handle their own ETLs without having to rely on us, so that they can be more fast and agile if they need to correct a bug, or if they want to deploy a new feature, or for example, let's say that they want to deploy a new metric so that it can become Fab 5, then they can do it, because the structure now it's built in a way that it's very straightforward, and the process to change any step of the workflow is clearly explained in a README file, and basically anyone can do it. And the other thing that we did was also starting to use state-of-the-art technologies and libraries, and implementing some new in-house solution. So what happens here is that we are basically using Python free, completely using Python free, and we are not relying on any of the previous code that we had for building data ETLs. And in this way, it's also much easier to also test new changes and make sure that we don't risk in 1 year from now to be in a position to say, oh no, we have some legacy code and we can modify it without having to rely on the data team. And the new in-house solutions actually refers to not only building the new structure for the ETLs, but also starting to use the same CI/CD pipeline for the deployment as the rest of the company, because until the end of 2020, actually, the data team was using different sets of tools for their CI/CD. We were using mainly Jenkins, and now instead, and we were deploying manually. Instead, now we use Concourse as the rest of the company, which also means that it's all the different teams are aligning on the same set of tools, which at the end of the day makes it easier to maintain everything. And another thing that we started developing is also using an EMR cluster with Airflow installed and using the Kubernetes operator for managing our scheduling. And this is very important, because with EMR, we are also not relying anymore on some infrastructure limitation, because in the moment that we might need more resources, it's much easier to change it and obtain more resources for our most time-consuming and resource-consuming ETLs. Last step, it's the access and visualization layer. So as before, we will use Tableau dashboards to show the reports, but since we also restructured the entire workflow, all the process data is available for querying via Snowflake because it's first of all saved as Parquet files in another S3 bucket. And it's also available for querying via Snowflake because we assume that, and this was actually one of the feedbacks, was, yes, I can see the Tableau dashboard, but what if I want to understand better why the Tableau dashboard is showing me this data? Because maybe you know that it's not showing a correct value. So you might want to actually dig in the real data. And now with this new entire Fab4 Plus implementation, you can actually do that using Snowflake. So here you can see a schematics of what it is right now. So you can see here the ingestion part where we have the webhooks, for example, for Jira and GitHub. GitHub is because we push our PRs for reviewing and for deployment here, and then Concurs interacts on a merge level to deploy to master or to staging accordingly. And here we have the Fab4 collector, which was built for the new Fab4 Plus. You can see it from the legend here on the right. And we have a Kafka for managing the events and saving them to the S3 bucket as raw. Then we have the ETL part, which is again new, and it saves to a process S3 bucket. And finally, it is available for Snowflake, and finally with Tableau. I wanted to also mention a case study because it was very interesting for me, and not only for me, but also for the actual Tableau dashboard, because LTTC is a difficult metric to define. The first version that we had differed from the Accelerates one, and in the sense that it was the time needed for a Jira ticket to be opened and closed, which is not actually reflecting a change being deployed to production. So this was a first problem in the first version of Fab4. And the second problem was that the input data from Jira was prone to human error. And because you know, it is with data engineers that maybe they start working on a ticket and they finish the ticket, but they forget to actually change the tag in yes, it's in progress and now it's done. It's just human nature. And it was also an interesting challenge to implement it because we have to use free events to actually gather all the information needed to understand in how much time change arrives to being deployed to production. The free events are a deployment attempt, and then we have GitHub pull request and GitHub push. Deployment attempt is coming through the Concurs pipeline basically, and it's the deployment attempts done by Concurs to deploy to production. Then we have GitHub pull request, which is a type of events that collects all the events connected to a PR. And the GitHub push instead only refers to events connected to when you do git push basically. So between these two, GitHub pull request and GitHub push, we can collect what is the team pushing the PR and pushing the change, and also the time of the change and the time of the merge. Because what we wanted to have is that calculate the time between the merge time and the earliest commit for your PR. So there was a technical problem given by the very nature of push merges and squash merges, because they have different information in the events. Basically, you can imagine that push merges will have all the information about your merge. So let's say that you committed 3 changes and then you push merge, you will have basically 4 information, 3 for the first commits, and then the information about the merge commit. Instead, the squash merge will only have information about itself. So what we needed to do and this is the technical solution that was implemented, was to retrieve all the commits for each branch name and for homonym branches. Then in the case of homonym branches, we wanted to individuate the earliest commit based on the merge times of all the related commits. So we basically look at all the history of a PR, and we try to understand if there is a commit, then maybe there is a squash merge, and then there is another commit for a different PR, which will have a different PR number. And we want to make sure to have in our end table 2 rows, one for the first PR with the earliest commit, and then a second row with the second PR, which will have by logic a commit which is later than the merge time of the first PR. So this was a very interesting case study, and it was a real challenge to implement it. So how does it look like, the dashboard for LTTC? So this is our goal. So we want to have 70% of the time that the changes are completed in less than 36 hours. So it means that a PR is opened and closed in 1 day and a half, more or less. And our current value is 34.82. And here you can see also the trend according to the weeks. And in the Tableau dashboard, you can also see, you can filter out according to your tribe and according to your team. There is no, it's not possible to filter on personal level, because as I said before, the goal is to make sure that the team grows. It's not about who's doing better. And yeah, here at the end of the year, it's obviously increasing because it's the end of the year. So probably no one is actually in the office opening and closing PRs. So it's actually a bit misleading, this end part. So in conclusion, from the data perspective, this project was the first one entirely developed following the best practices of DevOps and the technologies already adopted in the company. This was very important because it gave us the chance to basically test ourselves and try to understand how to build a product that also the others can use. And what we obtained from this is having a new set of tools and also a new set of documentation, so that other data teams within the company can develop their own cluster and their own Airflow scheduler for their own ETLs. And this is a very big step for us. And Fab4 is currently being used for this exactly purpose, to as an example of how all the future data pipelines should be built and the infrastructure they should use. And for the future developments, we are still working on automating the refreshing of data in Snowflake. At the moment, it's still a manual operation, but we have already written our own library to automate the deployment of Snowflake. And so reading from an S3 location and creating the DDL and then having it in Snowflake and refreshing the data. And it's improving the UX dashboard in Tableau following the feedbacks from the users. So thank you a lot. And any questions? And I think that now we will have the time to answer all the questions. So thank you a lot, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Elena. That was awesome. Love hearing how you folks at HelloFresh tried Fab4 Plus and outcomes. And thank you everyone for those presentations. They were awesome. We have had a few questions come through the Q&A. If there's any more, please send them through now. The first one is for yourself, Mahshad, and it says, how many engineers are involved in managing your infrastructure at OneFootball?
In data and insights team, we are 3 data engineers, 1 data scientist, 3 data analysts, and we have 1 lead. So yeah, for the infrastructure part, we are 3 data engineers. Yeah.
Do you think that's enough engineers to be managing the infrastructure, in your opinion?
Well, yeah, I think this is enough, especially because one of the data engineers that we have was recently working as a data in DevOps team. So actually, having him in the team with data engineers is a really great help, I think.
Oh, that's good. I can imagine that. Obviously, I work with DevOps, and it's quite a rare skill set to come by, the DevOps and the data piece, as we've been discussing tonight. So I can imagine that's a help. Awesome. There's another question here. I'm not sure if it was during Steffi or Mahshad's presentation, but it says, how are models' performance being monitored?
I guess it's for me because yeah. Anyway, so currently the model that is live is only one model. So the way we monitor the performance is we implement our internal tracking, because actually the model itself is being called by a system that we built in-house. So we can easily implement tracking there, and basically these becomes tracking events that we can query from our data lake. And in the future, how it will look like, it really depends on which tool we're going to use. I mean, right now we're trying to Dockerize the model and try to use different tools and see which one makes sense for the use case. Our tech stack itself, normally we use Kibana to see the logs. So that's pretty much, I think, what we're gonna tend to choose again for monitoring them. Yeah, so unless there are other issues that we might face in the future. I hope that answers the question.
Excellent. That sounds perfect. Thank you. Tristan has asked if anyone has had experience with running Terraform multi-provider solutions, and if you have, what challenges have you faced in data set coherence and similarity when passed between different providers' product architecture? So I don't know if that question, anyone's come across that problem before.
Well, I talked about Terraform, and to be honest, I don't know the answer to this question. I've never worked with multi-provider solutions. Yeah.
Fair enough. Steffi, Elena, have either of you two worked with Terraform before?
I work with Terraform, but I haven't had this type of experience with Terraform multi-provider solutions. So our infrastructure is similar to the one that Mahshad described. So we basically have we build our Terraform, and then we have a CI/CD pipeline which takes care of deploying everything to AWS basically. So unfortunately, I don't have experience either.
That's okay. We'll pop that in our white paper at the end, that question, and we can keep the conversation going. So another question that we have had is, and this can go to anyone or all of you, what were the biggest challenges when adopting DevOps practices in your business?
Well, I can start. So the biggest challenges for us was basically starting to use the same set of tools as the rest of the company. Luckily for us, actually, there was a lot of documentation provided by the platform engineering squad. So even if we had some trial and errors phase, we were able to create our own CI/CD pipeline respecting and aligning to the rest of the company. This was the biggest challenges, at least for my project and the recent projects that we are working on. Another big challenge that I can think of is trying to make sure to organize your structure your code in a way that it's always easy to maintain by everyone. This might be a challenge in itself, because you first need to understand the technical level of the maintainers, the possible maintainers, and then you have to make sure that you respect those boundaries.
Excellent, thank you. Mahshad and Steffi, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add there, or
yeah, for one, it's quite similar. It's basically usually the DevOps team came up with a very excellent tools, but unfortunately for the other engineering team, it's also quite hard to prioritize to use them, because obviously there are other pressing products that needs to be implemented usually. So that's one of the thing. The second thing is it's the learning curve. So it's hard to learn something new. Therefore, the good thing is our DevOps team also usually train people or yeah, basically creating regular trainings for people who are interested in learning Kubernetes or Docker or anything like that. So I guess it's more and more becoming the challenge as well for many companies. So basically from the DevOps side, they need to be able to also train people or create some sort of tutorial for the entire company.
makes sense. And Mahshad?
Well, on our side, it's also very similar to what Elena and Steffi said. We were a data team, and yeah, completely. We had to completely learn how to apply these DevOps best practices to our infrastructure. So, as I said, one of the blessings that we had was to have one of my colleagues that he was working as a DevOps before, and then he joined our data team. And yeah, that makes everything very more straightforward. But yeah, that is what I think most of the data teams are involved with.
Good. So learn here is get a DevOps engineer into the data team, or at least one to teach us. Thank you. Another question we've got that's come through is, who wrote the ETL in this use case? How was the interaction with data engineers and platform team?
Yeah, I think this one is for me. So unfortunately, I know that I said, yeah, the ETL, the self-service tools, so the non-data engineers can write it, but actually the ETL in this use case was written by me specifically in this case. And the interaction with data engineers and platform team is in the sense that since they are the ones creating the events, they are the ones with the maximum expertise on the events. So the interaction between me and the platform team was, this is the ETL, this is how it will look like, but I need to understand what are the transformations that you need applied to this data. And also anytime that I had a doubt about how the events should look like, I would go to them and schedule a quick meeting to understand, because I still think that the best way to proceed in such cases is a call, basically. Voice, it's always better to communicate these parts. So one thing that happened usually is that I would ask, could you please create a sample set of events so that I have some data to test and to run my code against it, so that I know the corner cases. Because the main issue in this case was the push merge and the squash merges, is that it's not that common to have squash merges. So it was difficult for me to have a real case scenario to use. So I simply asked could you please create a fake squash merge so I have it for my testing environment. So this was the interaction between me and the platform team.
Excellent. I suppose while we're on the topic of ETLs, of building ETLs, I've got a question that I suppose maybe everyone could answer. So the overall goal of DataOps is to move away from the end-to-end analytics and more so into, you know, a continuous data environment. appreciate no one has mastered it yet. It's still very new. It's definitely not going to be hype after the success that we've already seen in software engineering with CI/CD. But if anyone here listening or in attendance would look to start moving towards or implementing data ops, where would you recommend they start? Don't make me pick on someone.
Well, I think there are a couple of things, like some steps you can follow in DevOps. Like one of them can be like, which is very, I think, important, is to start with having multiple environments, like staging, production, and development, to have automated tests, so that you can make sure this your pipeline is functioning properly and it's reliable. Other than that, to automate your workflows from build to release and deploy codes, to have this version control tools like Git to help store and manage all these changes to the codes. If any disaster happens, you can recover that. And also monitoring, that would be also, I think, a very important step here.
Excellent. Elena, Steffi, would either of you like to jump in? Where would you ideally start? If you could do it again, maybe, or if you could start now.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite similar. So in Bonia itself, usually in data team, we also have a DevOps as our team member. So like DevOps engineer will then tell us, okay, first you need to have everything on Git or on Bitbucket, so version control, and then it also needs to have a CI/CD pipeline, and afterwards we try to use the cover as much tasks as possible, and then from then on try to get an overview of, okay, all the ETL process, which part of it actually incur a lot of cost, or which part of it is quite slow, and then basically from that point on try to evaluate the cost over time and optimize from there, like which part can be made more efficient, let's say.
Yeah, so instead from my side, I probably one thing that I might want to change is actually we don't have a DevOps engineer inside our team. So actually having a person expert on DevOps itself might be of very helpful in your team. And as Mahshad and Steffi said, the very first thing is to have everything under version control, GitHub, but there is also GitLab. There are different solutions, so it's not only GitHub. And then I would say that monitoring is highly necessary to make sure that you're also certain to catch any possible incidents as soon as they happen. Because otherwise, the main issues with DevOps would be your deployment frequency is not that high, but with DataOps instead, the main issue that might happen is that you're pushing some data which is not of the highest quality, and then the reports that you build on top of them are not correct. So I would say that monitoring is monitoring the data quality of your ETL pipelines is a very important piece, which the DataOps world should focus on moving forward in the technology.
Excellent. And before I just went into the last maybe few questions that we have for the Q&A, I did just want to ask, when it comes to maybe your ETL and your scheduling, I suppose, what do you think about Apache Airflow and how important that is to maybe schedule your ETL jobs to have good quality data coming through at the right times with the right sources?
So I can go first in this case. So we use only Apache Airflow, basically. So it's in our day-to-day ETLs, and it's a vital part of our ETL workflow. And I would say that it's one of the best tools in the market. And one thing that it's really appreciate that I really appreciate right now is that there are also different operators, and there is the integration with Kubernetes, which means that at the end of the day, you're able to use the DevOps best practices and also using a scheduler that already implements it. And this is something very, very good. And I feel like I would suggest to use Apache Airflow for your data ETLs.
Quite similar to Elena, we also use Airflow, and I think speaking from the analyst point of view, it's also pretty easy for us to spot, the pipelines or the ducks that we created. Are they making any issues? And if they are failing, we also receive alerts, and we can actually directly see from the logs, and maybe we can even debug themselves without having to count on engineers to fix it. So that's really nice. And yeah, I really like as well that it has a lot of operators, and we can even also adapt some of the operators to be more let's say more adjustable to our cases. So I would also recommend the same.
Well, from my side, we also use Airflow as a scheduler for managing our workflows. And yeah, this is actually a good tool. What we're using it is for like scheduling or daily emails and reports, or to connecting to external APIs, and using hook and operator to collect the data and load it. And I can say that's actually a very good and nice tool to use for managing your workflows.
Thank you very much for that. So I'm conscious of time. I want to make sure that if anyone wants to jump out into the breakout and the network session with us, there are a few questions on the Q&A that are left unanswered. We can address them in the breakout rooms. Come as you are, come without camera on. You can just type. We're totally open. No one's going to get picked on to speak. If you just want to come and listen in, please join us. Alfie has just popped the Zoom link to the networking session in there again, and we'll hop off shortly. Thank everyone very much for joining us this evening, or if you're watching back, I hope you have enjoyed it very much. Speakers, you have been incredible. I can't thank you enough for your time and your insight. You have added a tremendous amount of value. Our corporate sponsors, JFrog, as always, it was amazing. And for all the participants for coming in, asking questions, that has been incredible. Take a look at our website, www.womenindevops.com. Our next event will be announced very soon, and we've also got the workshops with JFrog coming up as well. But at Women in DevOps, we're committed to the pursuit of ensuring diversity, inclusion, and equality, building a people-friendly planet, and closing the employment gap. Together, we can support one another and make a real impact throughout the tech space and the wider world, enabling diversity not only in the workplace, but throughout our communities. If you have any questions to me, please reach out. I'm very active on LinkedIn, or my email address is antonia.otter@trustinsoda.com. And before we go, there's going to be a poll that I almost forgot about. It's coming up on your screen now. There'll be a white paper to follow up, but hope to see you very soon, right now, in the breakout rooms. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.